"Would you please tell me which way I ought to go from here?" asked Alice. "That depends a good deal on where you want to get to," said the cat. "I don't much care where," said Alice. "Then it doesn't matter which way you go," said the cat. This conversation takes place between Alice and the Cheshire Cat in the very popular children's book Alice in Wonderland, written by Lewis Carroll. Would you want to play basketball if there were no hoops? Of course not, since it's the hoops that give a focus to the game. In this video, we explore a 5-point framework for governance that gives us a structure and direction for the videos in this series. So where are we trying to get to? Since only by defining our end point can we really begin to map out the journey we need to take to get there. Let's assume, therefore, that you want to be part of an exceptional board that has an impact on student learning. So even before we get on to our aims, let's just decode a couple of words. Exceptional takes our thinking from that of simply covering the basics of responsibility and fiduciary oversight into one of being thoughtful and intentional about action, engagement, and communication. Impact on learning takes a slightly different approach, which helps us to ask, why are we doing what we're doing if we're not if it's not to further the learning of the school, learning of the children? Oftentimes the work of the board is far removed from the day-to-day learning, but nevertheless, it should be our focus, which is easiest to do if trustees keep the school's mission in view, since the mission itself should have been crafted around impacting student learning. While we typically refer to leadership as being a function of the head of school and the overall administration, nevertheless, governance is a form of leadership, since you're setting the tone and direction for the entire school community. So what is leadership in this context? And what is it that people would choose to follow? There are a few core ideas about leadership through governance that are worth focusing on. Perhaps in your own professional field, you've progressed and been promoted, arguably as a result of technical skills and knowledge that you've got. As a trustee, you're in a position of trust. That trust may have initially been given to you through appointment or election, but continuation of that trust is something that is earned. And without trust, there is unlikely to be an effective leadership. People, whether other trustees, parents, head of school, or staff, need to have a sense that you're working in the best interest of the school. So there are 3 leadership principles I'd like to propose so that you can keep these in mind when reflecting on the aims of an exceptional board. First, we typically think of leaders as inspiring their organization, and with a clear picture of the long-term vision, sets out to establish clear steps to get there while nurturing and empowering their teams to buy into that model. In the context of a board, you certainly hold the responsibility for establishing the long-term vision and strategies for the school, although you will work principally through the head of school to support the teams that will actually implement the plans. So it's an important distinction here that you're responsible for the people that are implementing the plans, not the actual implementation. Secondly, leaders need to speak with passion and to communicate with all stakeholders in effective ways to deliver a consistent message. These communications constantly remind the organization of their vision and values and focus on the why and not just on the what and how. And without passion, there would be little to persuade others to buy into your vision. In terms of governance, your leadership requires effective communication with your fellow trustees, but you will also interface with the head of school and other administrators, plus, of course, your role in communicating with the other stakeholders that are in the community, particularly parents and local businesses. Finally, leaders act with integrity. Trust is built when leaders follow through with their promises, but do so while being principled and follow a code of ethics. While proactive thought and planning develop trust, people understand that there can be unexpected events and crises, and how leaders react when under pressure is often insightful into somebody's base values. As a trustee, you'll want to be diligent in your fiduciary duties and strategic planning so as not to expose the school to unnecessary risk, while seeking to understand the principles and implications of your decisions. Leading under challenging circumstances may not come naturally in the context of a board, which is why you may be watching some of these scenarios and case studies in the series so that you can mentally prepare and practice for such eventualities. Okay, so now that we've brought some leadership aspects into focus, let's explore those concepts that can take a board from acting responsibly and to being exceptional and impactful. I've broken down governance into 5 domains. And of course, remember that you now need to view these things through the lens of a trustee, where you're doing less of the doing and more of responsible for the people that are doing the doing. So first off is a conceptual understanding. Impactful boards ensure that trustees have clearly defined roles and responsibilities and understand how their roles are different yet complementary to the head of school and the administration. Trustees understand that part of their role is to assure alignment between vision, values, structures, and make sure that facilities are there to continually enhance the impact on learning in the school. Constructive partnerships. Impactful boards build constructive partnerships with the head of school and in turn the wider community as appropriate. The relationship with the head of school is seen as pivotal and is therefore nurtured through mutually developing trust, respect, and open communication. The board proactively supports the head of school in cultivating positive relations with the various stakeholder communities and ensures that he or she operates ethically. Third is the commitment to common vision and values. Impactful boards create, cultivate, and communicate a compelling mission and vision for the school. Trustees ensure that there's congruence between the guiding principles, values, and strategic goals, which in turn leads to consistent decision-making in the school. The board's aspirations, goals, and intentions are prioritized and appropriately shared with the various stakeholders. Impactful boards promote a culture of transparency, ensuring that stakeholders have access to appropriate, timely, and accurate information regarding the school and its position. Capacity for integrity and rigor. Impactful boards ensure that the school has the internal capacity to implement the learning plans within the school. Trustees take a keen interest in ensuring that the financial support, personnel, systems, facilities, and resources are sufficient to sustain the school's short and medium-term plans in line with its mission and values, and to take the necessary time to prioritize and develop long-term strategic plans that are used to inform agendas and are continually monitored. Impactful boards act with integrity and uphold high ethical standards, which ensures legal compliance and active fiduciary oversight for all aspects of the school. Trustees collaborate, but also question and challenge assumptions and engage in healthy debate and discussion so that they ensure that the issues are understood and fully explored before decisions are made. Trustees put the long-term interest of the school first and ensure that there are no conflicts of interest that affect decisions, whether through personal gain or through coercion. And trustees demonstrate personal integrity through their commitment to respectful debate in the board meetings while upholding the board's common position without personal criticism or action to undermine it. And fifth, competency and challenge. Impactful boards have given careful thought to identify individual and organizational competencies needed for success. Trustees are aware of their aspirations, the likely drivers of change, and an understanding of the change management required to meet the challenges along the way. Impactful boards ensure that there's a process of ongoing professional development and self-review, which includes deliberate processes for identifying and inducting new trustees so that there's alignment between the school's mission, strategic goals, values, and work of the board. Impactful boards continually challenge themselves individually and collectively, and in so doing, set the framework for the school development and the progress. Trustees recognize that their domain is the long-term success of the school and associated strategic plans, and therefore they craft appropriate targets and measures so that they may evaluate the performance of the school with these targets in mind. The board sets long-term and annual targets for itself and for the head of school, and devise appropriate metrics for the school's overall effectiveness, efficiency, and impact on learning. Interwoven through these 5 domains is a conscious effort to identify the motivational driver, the why question. If you're not sure why you're here, or unsure of why the board does what it does, then likely as not you won't have got this far through the video. So if you're still watching, then congratulations. Now that you've started to crystallize in your own mind what's in it for me, then you're well positioned to explore more. Set yourself some goals to complete your own learning and start making a difference. Without this, as with most New Year's resolutions, vague promises fade to unfulfilled wishes and nothing changes. With these 5 core areas outlined, we can begin to unpack these concepts more and take a deeper dive into the impact that you can make as a trustee. What are the big ideas that are sticking with you right now? What are the areas that you see as the low-hanging fruit that you want to tackle first?